Just to the southwest of the town of Peebles, the Spine of Albion alignment passes through the tiny hamlet of Cadmuir, at the foot of Cadmuir Hill. Here we find the alignment and the Ellen current on its western slopes, and the Belinus current skirting its eastern edge. At the base of the hill, Ellen visits a large standing stone set into the dry stone wall next to a field near Bellenrig Farm. Its size is impressive, and faint traces of cut marks are just visible on its surface. Later research informed us that the 2 metre 6 foot 6 inch high megalith known as the Dwarf Stone was moved here from a position near the meeting of the Tweed and Manor Water by a wood called Arthur Bray. A local tale of a black dwarf living near Kirkton Manor recalls him carrying the standing stone from Peebles for a wager, but having grown tired he dropped it halfway to his home. Other legends say it was the stone taken out of the boot of a giant passing through the area, or an old woman turned to stone by the devil. The sheer number of legends associated with this solitary stone may indicate that its presence marked an earlier pagan sanctuary. Likewise, Bellenrig, the name of the nearby farm, right at the foot of Cadmuir Hill, possibly alludes to its summit being the site of solar worship to the ancient sun god Bel. A small figure at the bottom right of the stone could be a dwarf. The prominent dome-shaped eminence of Cadmuir Hill stands high above soft rolling hills. Indigenous people all over the world consider rounded feminine-shaped hills such as Cadmuir as sacred, perhaps because their shape attracts orgone or cosmic energy from the upper atmosphere. Perhaps this hill on the Spine of Albion it represented to the ancient inhabitants of this region a middle hill, or axis mundi. The remains of 4 pre-Roman camps on this summit highlight its sacred importance, one with a dry stone wall 5 yards deep. Cadmuir, anciently called Cadmor, signifies in Gaelic the Great Fight. According to local history, long ago a battle took place here, so significant that nearly 200 monumental stones stood on the hill to commemorate the historic event. Over the centuries, due to the removal of the stones for building material, the memory of this great battle has faded from the nation's memory. A Neolithic dolmen called Arthur's Oven, also located on the hill, suffered the same fate, its stones removed by the father of the Scottish poet Sir Walter Scott. The name Arthur's Oven may relate to local folklore, which we found in several fascinating books in Peebles Library, stating that Cadmuir Hill was the location of King Arthur's 7th battle. Nennius, the 9th century Welsh chronicler of British history, mentions this battle as taking place at Coit Celydon, or Celydon Forest, which modern researchers believe to be Ettrick Forest, just south of Peebles. We believe that the exact location of the battle was at the tiny hamlet of Cadmuir, from which the hill takes its name, located at the foot of the hill to the southwest on the alignment. Not far from here is the wood named Arthur Bray, or Arthur's Brow, Bray being a lowland word for brow or slope of a hill. Perhaps the dwarf stone on the Ellen current that once stood near the woods commemorated Arthur's victory. Although Robert the Bruce granted Peebles the right to hold a market in the early 14th century, it was already a royal burgh at the time of David I, 1124 to 53, one of the oldest in Scotland. Some believe its name derives from the Cumbrian or early Welsh word pebil, meaning a place where tents were pitched. The old market town today has great character, and with a pleasing high street of traditional buildings filled with delightful craft shops, restaurants and cafes. After following Ellen through a maze of residential streets, we suddenly came to a ruined church on a high point north of the high street, surrounded by a wall with metal railings called Cross Kirk. A Trinitarian priory once stood on this ancient site, built in the late 1100s. The Trinitarians, also called the Red Friars, were an order founded at Courfroy in France. Their original aim was to obtain the release of Christians captured by the Saracens during the Crusades and provide sanctuary for them, but they continued to exist long after this need had passed. Ellen presented herself strongly, weaving her way through the ruins in an east-west direction, connecting with a large uncut megalith set into the ground at the threshold of the northwest entrance. Belinus enters from the south to form a node with Ellen inside a small sealed chapel attached to the north wall of the ruin, similar in style to the Chaldee shrine at Stobo. Our dowsing also indicated that a large stone circle once stood on this site, perhaps destroyed by the Christian missionaries during their conversion of the area in the 7th century. Further dowsing indicated that the existing boundary walls of the church mark the edge of the circle, and the threshold stone over which Ellen flows was an outlier, with many of the megaliths possibly broken up to build the priory. Southwest of Penicuik, overlooking the North Esk River, is the Gauk stone, also known as the Auchenkorth stone, just east of Forth Farm, a large sandstone monolith over 2 meters 6 foot 6 inches high. The name has been applied to many other standing stones and glacial erratic boulders in Scotland and means place of the fold, perhaps referring to the lost stone circle. The stone has distinct vertical fluting due to weathering, with some fragmentary lettering in Latin still visible. Just to the north of there, situated on the edge of a deep ravine, are the ruins of Brunstane Castle, built in 1568, the old seat of the Crichtons. Around the beginning of the last century, a deep fosse or ditch surrounded it, creating a very effective place of defence. The stone and castle mark the path of Ellen to Glencorse Reservoir, the site of the medieval religious and administrative centre of the Pentlands. It included a chapel dedicated to St. Catherine in the Hope, located just where the Kirk Burn flows into the reservoir, now a pile of stones lying on the bottom. The original name for this area was Glen Cross, said to derive from an ancient cross standing within the burial grounds of the old church. The Pentland Hills are at the heart of the territory once ruled by the Celtic tribe of the Selgovae, who built their hill fort next to an already existing souterrain from a much earlier culture. About 9 kilometres 6 miles to the east here is Rosslyn Chapel, built by Sir William St. Clair in 1446, made famous by Dan Brown's novel The Da Vinci Code. Belinus then brings us to the alignment at the busy Loch End industrial estate at Newbridge, about 11 kilometres 7 miles west of Edinburgh, set between the River Armand and the western tip of the Edinburgh Airport runway. Here we find one of Scotland's most important prehistoric sites, in a rather frenzied position next to a major junction of the M9 motorway and a burger restaurant and busy petrol station. Known as Hooly Hill, it consists of a large circular cairn surrounded by 3 standing stones made of greenstone, one marking its east end and the others located at the southwest and northwest. This early Bronze Age ceremonial complex also has another megalith belonging to it nearby called the Gorga Stone, on the premises of a company called Bodycoat Materials Testings, separated from the Hooly Hill tumulus by the M9 motorway and the Newbridge roundabout. We found the male serpent entering the tumulus from the south and connecting with the northwest standing stone at 310 degrees, deviating to 320 degrees as he leaves towards the small town of Kirkliston. The tumulus or burial cairn measures 30 metres 98 feet wide and 3 metres 9 foot 7 inches high and dates from 2500 BC. A stone circle once surrounded the mound, with one antiquarian stated consisted of 12 standing stones, which survived up until the 18th century. Other sources suggest it was the possible burial place of a great Bronze Age chieftain, his cairn placed inside what may have been a pre-existing stone circle. In 1903, historians proposed that the three standing stones formed part of two separate concentric stone circles. The website Undiscovered Scotland states that it's possible that the tumulus and standing stones were constructed at different times, the cairn in relation to the stones being significantly offset to the northwest. With the discovery of both Bronze Age and Iron Age burials nearby, it's almost certain this site has been used by consecutive races since the Neolithic Age, perhaps believing it to be an important sacred place of their ancient ancestors. Excavation of the tumulus in 1830 revealed a bronze spearhead, a heap of animal charcoal and small fragments of bone, although they found no trace of burial cists, urns or any human remains. In 1878, Joseph Anderson argued the spearhead was in fact a dagger with rivets, as no authenticated instance of bronze spearheads had been found with an interment in Scotland. During the building of the industrial estate in 2001, a complete Celtic chariot was uncovered to the south of the tumulus, believed to be part of a burial dating to around 250 BC. Although little survives of the organic remains, it's of a type previously unknown in Scotland, being more akin to those found on the mainland of Europe. Similar chariots have been found in East Yorkshire, where the Gaulish Parisi settled, but unlike the one at Newbridge, they had been dismantled before burial. A road seems to have been named after it. On the north side of Edinburgh Airport runway is the Cat Stane, with an inscription translated by Sir James Young Simpson in 1861 as "On this mound lies Vetter, the son of Victi." Also in the vicinity, Robert Hutchinson in 1864 uncovered 9 rows of 51 burial cists of various types, further substantiating that up to the Roman period this site was in constant use as a burial ground by different races over several centuries. A tribe known as the Victorians settled in this area around AD 364, as well as peoples of the Meita and Damnoni tribes. Further excavations in the 1970s, led by Trevor Cowie, uncovered several more prehistoric graves. Numerous tumuli existed around the Cat Stone towards the Hewley Hill tumulus, which suggests that before extensive farming and the building of the airport runway, this was a massive and extremely important complex of prehistoric monuments. When viewed from the top of the mound, the streamlined shape of the eastern outlier aligns with Arthur's Seat in the centre of Edinburgh. Graham Gardner, chairman of the British Society of Dowsers, who accompanied us on one of the visits to the site, also pointed out an alignment found by Harry Bell that links the Hewley Hill tumulus and the Gorga stone with Edinburgh Castle to the east and the Cairn Papal tumulus near Bathgate to the west. However, we also discovered an equinoctial line that connects the Hewley Hill tumulus with the old parish church at Corstorphine and Arthur's Seat. The church at Corstorphine stands within a circular graveyard, the possible site of a prehistoric henge, similar to Arthur's Round Table at Penrith. We felt sure that the ancestors built the Hewley Hill tumulus as a platform to observe the rising sun through the entrance of the henge at Corstorphine, as it rose behind Arthur's Seat during the equinox. Without doubt, Hewley Hill is one of Scotland's most important prehistoric monuments. North of Hewley Hill, the alignment is marked by the ancient town of Kirkliston, once part of the monastery of Abercorn. Built around 1200, Kirkliston Parish Church stands on a grassy knoll next to one of the most important royal routes in Scotland, linking the castles of Edinburgh, Linthinglow, Falkirk and Stirling. According to the parish history written by Donald White, very little remains of the medieval structure after several 19th century restorations, except for the finely carved Norman arch over the entrance, likened to the western doorway of Holyrood Abbey in Edinburgh. The original dedication of this church is unknown, but two ancient annual fairs dedicated to St. Jude and St. Simon were held here long ago. The earlier name of the town was Temple Liston, a name referring to the Knights Templar who acquired the land from Robert the Bruce as they fled from France during their persecution by the Pope in the early 1300s. They purchased several plots of land in the area, including Temple near Rosslyn Chapel. The knights were keepers of esoteric and Masonic knowledge, which went underground after the royal line of the Stuart kings became extinct. However, a few records tell us the true history of the Knights Templar in Scotland, and the exact nature of these sites whilst in their hands. In the graveyard at Kirkliston Church, the great number of Masonic headstones with distinctive carvings and symbols signify the reverence given to this sacred site by the later Freemasons and the Knights Templar order that still exists in Scotland today. However, the interior of the church displays nothing to indicate this ageless site of sacred worship. We doused Belinus ascending the hill from the south through the impressive Norman doorway to visit the high altar. The Presbyterians always place their altars in the south of the church. Also situated on the alignment is Dundas Castle, first built as a keep by James Dundas in 1416. Oliver Cromwell stayed here, and a statue of him stands in the grounds. In 1818, Henry Dundas tore down a 17th century building in the hope of reconstructing a grander home, but the resulting costs forced him to sell the estate in 1846. The Stuart Clark family took possession in 1899, and after extensive restoration in 1995, the castle became an exclusive wedding venue, and the keep is used for marriage ceremonies. The Belinus current then carries on to the church at Abercorn. The architecture is mainly 11th century Romanesque, except for the south transept, which has larger stone blocks and roof tiles similar in style to the sanctuary of St. Mungo at Stobo, even having an identical circular window. The earthworks of several raised mounds survived in the churchyard, possible remains of the earlier monastery. Belinus was doused passing through the south transept, and the Laird's Loft, built in 1637 at the back of the altar as a private place of worship for the Earls of Abercorn and Hopetown. The Belinus alignment crosses the Firth of Forth, the ancient southern border of Pictland, close to the famous Forth railway bridge built between the towns of South and North Queensferry. To the east of it is the small island of Inchcolm, anciently known as Emona. Once it was the Avalon of the ancient Godothin tribe, who regarded it as a sacred abode of the dead, placed to the extreme north of their territory. According to local legend, it was to this holy island that the wounded King Arthur went to receive healing after his final battle. The tribe of the Godothin of Lothian were ruled over by the mythical King Lot, said to be related by marriage to King Arthur. Philip Coppens, in Land of the Gods, believes that Arthur fought many battles alongside Lot against the Angles of Northumbria. The island's reputation as a sacred burial ground continued in the 11th century, when the Danes paid a large sum of gold to have their dead buried here after their defeat by Macbeth at the Battle of Kinghorn. Inchcolm Abbey was dedicated to St. Columba. The island became an important Christian sanctuary from the earliest beginnings of the Culdees in Scotland. Here we find Ellen flowing through the nave, the oldest part of the building dating from the mid-12th century, passing through the old bell tower and across to the magnificent chapter house, an octagonal building erected using sacred proportion. She also visits a small rectangular stone cell within the abbey's exquisitely kept garden. Constructed before the abbey, it has a stone vaulted roof identical to the one at Stobo. This hermitage is one of the oldest relics of Scottish Christianity, a memorial to the visit of the Apostle St. Columba and his disciples. as we tuned into Ellen inside the cell. We also detected a crossing underground streams beneath us. The intense magnetism of this crossing created, combined with the presence of the powerful female serpent, promotes a potent and heady atmosphere inside the cell, encouraging one to have strong visionary experiences. The interior of the hermit's cell